Why Canada can't solve its population problem through immigration. Canada, the second largest country in the world, has a population of just under 39 million, smaller than California, and even not too large compared to Tokyo's metropolitan area. With vast land and low population density, it might seem like Canada is an ideal country to welcome more immigrants, especially those with high skills in labor shortage sectors or international students seeking education. Attracting skilled immigrant workers has long been seen as an effective card used by policymakers to boost the economy. Unlike other policies such as public spending or tax cuts, immigration doesn't add to the national debt. Instead, it brings in young, vibrant resources that immediately contribute to the tax system. However, like any macroeconomic policy, its effectiveness depends heavily on how it's implemented. While Canada continues to receive a large number of immigrant workers, some economists now warn that the country might be falling into a population trap. The current immigration rate may not be sustainable, and even if Canada wanted to slow down, it wouldn't be easy. Countries like the US, New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Western Europe face similar challenges. But what makes Canada's situation unique? Canada's scenario could be a clear warning of the potential failure of immigration strategies in the world's most developed economies. Canada's reliance on immigration isn't just an economic issue. It's a complex political and social equation. But why does Canada's economy rely so much on immigration? What negative impacts have emerged? And what is preventing Canada from slowing down immigration when it's becoming apparent that it might be necessary? Skilled immigration brings immediate benefits, adding young labor, boosting economic growth, and stabilizing the social security system. Immigrants, often from developing economies, come seeking better lives and higher wages in Canada. While they may not bring large assets, they still provide an economic kick through consumption, buying homes, cars, and other necessities to start their new lives. But in the global race for talent, most developed nations are unconcerned about this negative impact because the economic benefits they gain far outweigh the costs. From Canada's perspective, post-pandemic labor immigration has become a top economic strategy. It's not just part of the recovery plan after a global crisis, but a way to fuel industries, universities, and businesses that depend on immigrant labor. In 2020, due to global travel restrictions, the number of immigrants dropped to around 100,000, leaving a significant labor gap. This prompted Canada to welcome nearly 500,000 immigrants annually, a record number in the nation's history. Notably, most of these immigrants arrive for economic reasons, filling skilled labor positions and making up for lost time during the pandemic. However, not all immigrants come to Canada for economic reasons. Refugees, another group of immigrants seeking safety from instability in their home countries, often arrive for humanitarian reasons. Along with family reunification immigration, this group accounts for a significant portion of the annual immigration total. Whether they come for economic or other reasons, they contribute to the broader changes in Canada's economy and society. Of course, such large-scale changes have significant economic impacts. On one hand, immigrants directly contribute to the labor force and tax revenue. On the other, the rapid growth of the immigrant population can create unforeseen side effects, straining infrastructure, public services, and the domestic labor market. Although Canada has vast space, this doesn't reflect the reality of population distribution. Most of Canada's population is concentrated in major urban areas like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. This concentration creates enormous pressure on the housing market, leading to increased demand without a timely supply response. As more immigrants flock to these major cities, the housing market, already among the most expensive in the world, becomes even more strained. This has led to skyrocketing rent and home prices, particularly in city centres where most new immigrants choose to live, study, and work. While Canada can try to build more housing to accommodate the influx, It's not a quick fix. Instead, the sudden population growth has created a stark imbalance between supply and demand, leading to a housing crisis that the government and policymakers have yet to resolve fully. Canada's labour market also faces challenges as the workforce grows rapidly, but the economy isn't adjusting fast enough. In theory, more workers should lead to greater economic output. But when economic resources can't be distributed evenly among the growing population, per capita productivity can drop. This is especially true as Canada finds itself lagging behind its southern neighbour, the United States. With its larger size and higher productivity, the US not only pays higher wages, but also offers more attractive business opportunities for skilled workers. This puts Canada in a tough spot. Although the country is attracting a significant number of skilled immigrants from around the world, it's simultaneously losing its most talented workforce to the US young. Talented Canadians are often drawn south by higher wages, lower taxes, and faster career growth, just across the border. The problem becomes even more complicated as Canada tries to maintain high immigration rates to compensate for labour shortages in critical industries like healthcare, technology, and services. However, as the population grows, Canadian businesses are forced to stretch their investments across more workers. This reduces individual worker productivity, leading to a decline in national productivity and weakening Canada's competitiveness on the global market. While the US remains a business-friendly destination for investors with an economy capable of absorbing vast amounts of capital from around the world, Canada struggles to attract investment. When US companies can invest heavily in technology, advanced machinery, and offer higher wages, they attract the best talent, solidifying their global dominance. Canada, despite its advantages in resources and education, is still grappling with retaining talent and creating enough incentives for businesses to compete effectively with its southern economic giant. Canada, due to its proximity and cultural similarities to the US, is often seen as living in the shadow of its larger southern neighbour. Alongside the continuous migration of skilled workers between the two countries, another challenge arises. Immigrants bring their families, who may not contribute economically as much as they do. This means that although an individual may boost GDP per capita, their family members may drag it down, reducing the overall effectiveness of immigrant workers' contributions. The issue grows even more complex as Canada welcomes record numbers of immigrants each year. While millions of people worldwide dream of moving to developed countries like Canada for a better quality of life, it's clear that Canada cannot welcome them all at once. This forces the country to carefully screen immigrants, prioritizing work visas for those with the highest skills or who best fit the needs of the economy. However, with the number of immigrants now double what it was before, the question arises, can Canada maintain the quality of this screening? With immigration rates rising rapidly, many newcomers may not have met the previous qualifications, which could lead to less economically efficient immigrants. Will the economic performance of immigrants decline, and will immigration issues worsen in the future? The answer remains to be seen, but the challenges are already beginning to surface. One of the most serious issues Canada faces is the loophole where many bypass immigration laws by applying for student visas. Canada welcomes thousands of international students each year, which in theory is a great opportunity to train a highly skilled workforce and collect tuition from them. However, this is only true when those students actually attend quality universities. In reality, Canada faces a problem of diploma mills, educational institutions that don't really provide education but still meet the criteria to issue student visas. These diploma mills exist solely to legitimize student visas. They don't offer real education, but do the bare minimum to keep students legally compliant. With generous rules on what international students can do with their visas, many have exploited this loophole. International students in Canada can work full-time during school breaks, buy real estate, getting around the foreign homebuyer ban, and even bring their spouses. This creates two major problems for the economy. On one hand, wealthy foreign students have used their student visas to buy real estate, adding more pressure to an already overheated housing market. In some cases, students have spent millions of dollars to buy homes, driving up prices to levels that local residents can't afford. On the other hand, some apply for student visas just to be allowed to work and take part in temporary jobs or the gig economy. This not only lowers average economic productivity, but also makes the labor market less stable. If Canada continues to accept large numbers of immigrants without improving per capita productivity, the country will face serious economic risks. The worst-case scenario is that Canada only increases the cost of living, while economic output doesn't rise enough to compensate. This could lead to a dangerous spiral, where housing prices and living costs rise, but productivity and wages don't improve accordingly. However, if Canada suddenly stops the flow of immigrants, especially skilled labor, the country could face a severe labor shortage in the short term. Many businesses, built on the expectation of population and labor growth, will face unexpected shocks. They may be forced to downsize production or cut investments. All of these disruptions will impact the economy and people's lives. The problem becomes even more dangerous when looking at household debt levels in Canada, one of the highest in the world. Most Canadians have taken on significant debt to own expensive homes, and if immigration suddenly slows, housing prices could fall. This could leave many Canadians underwater on their mortgages, owing more than their homes are worth. A mortgage crisis could create a domino effect on the economy and society, causing more severe consequences in the short term. This is the population trap Canada is facing. The country can't continue accepting many immigrants without causing new problems, but it also can't stop immigration without triggering short-term crises. While this sounds severe, there are potential solutions to escape this trap. A balanced discussion on immigration is always challenging because it's a sensitive issue. Criticizing immigration levels doesn't mean being against immigrants, and it's essential to find a reasonable economic approach. Housing is one of the key factors to resolving this issue. If the demand for housing increases, the supply needs to increase too. However, Canada's major cities face strict zoning regulations, making new housing construction difficult and slow. Loosening these regulations could be an effective solution, not only adding more housing supply, but also creating a significant boost to the economy. Housing construction requires a lot of skilled labor, and this is an industry that can't be outsourced. Canada is currently facing a severe labor shortage in construction. But again, skilled labor immigration is the key to filling these gaps. Of course, not everyone agrees with these solutions. Many want affordable housing, but when faced with rezoning land near their homes, they may not be as enthusiastic. People who have taken on large debts to own property understandably want to protect their assets' value. Governments at all levels, from local councils to the federal government, constantly face pressure from citizens' demands. If stakeholders aren't willing to address the issue from the supply side, then any adjustments can only focus on demand, and that's not always an ideal solution. After seeing the negative impacts of uncontrolled immigration, Canada has taken strong steps to reduce the number of new visas and tighten rules related to student visas. Previous policies, which had many loopholes, are now under serious review. Whatever direction Canada takes next, the world will be watching closely, because many other countries also seek economic benefits from skilled labor immigration, and all face the risk of falling into a similar population trap. Ultimately, while Canada faces challenges with labor immigration, their problems are nowhere near as severe as those faced by labor-exporting countries. The issue of brain drain in developing nations, where the most talented workers constantly migrate to developed countries, is causing significant economic and social losses. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our latest content on Discover Wonders. See you in the next video.